Today we continue the Maimer Vehaya, Bayom, Hahu that the Rebbe said Tafshin Chav Ches 1967 and that the Rebbe gave out for Tafshin Nun Beis 1991. In the Maimer up until now, the Rebbe is explaining the concept of the shofar gadol. What is the big shofar that will be blown when Mashiach comes? And why do we say that Yitoka, it will be sounded on its own, that there's no one that's actually blowing it? And in order to explain this, the Rebbe explained the whole idea of shofar. Shofar is something that reaches the very essence of a person's soul. Shofar is not an intellectual or an emotional thing, it's an essence. It's something that's beyond all of these, and therefore it reveals the essence of Hashem. The essence is the source that brings Hashem's desire and pleasure in the creation of the physical world, which is what we bring about through the blowing of the shofar. By Matan Torah, there was a shofar in order to reveal the godliness that's in the world, but it's within the people, but within people that are close. When Mashiach comes, it will have to reveal the godliness that's within the people that are at a distance. In order that it should be revealed within the people that are at a distance, there needs to be something that's beyond the shofar gadol. To get to those people who are in a distance, there needs to be something which is beyond the limitations and the definition of the physical and even spiritual world. It has to be a very essential thing, and that will give the ability to reveal within every Jew their desire to come and bow to Hashem in Yerushalayim. Then the Rebbe continued to explain the concept of Yitoka. It will be blown on its own, not something which is there, someone doing it. And the idea is that even the highest level of shofar, when it's a shofar stam, a regular shofar, there's names. A name is a definition. It defines something. The essence, the real, full essence of blowing of shofar is something that happens, so to speak, on its own, because it's totally beyond the ishtalshelus, beyond the limitations and the definitions of our physical world and even of the spiritual world. However, the Rebbe asked the question that if it's a concept of Mashiach has to be through our actions, and especially we're connecting it to Rosh Hashanah. The whole idea of Rosh Hashanah is that it's not when Hashem created the world on His own, so to speak, from above, but rather when He created man. And the whole concept of Rosh Hashanah is that man should arouse Hashem's pleasure in the creation of the world. So then how can it be that this greatest shofar, the regular shofar, needs to have a person's actions, whereas the great shofar, the shofar gadol, that happens on its own? And the Rebbe explained, based on the whole concept of shofar. The whole concept of shofar, as explained by the Rebbe Marash, is min ha-meitzar karasi ka anani v'merchav ka. Person calls out to Hashem from the deepest constraints, from the deepest level of hardship, of tightness. And it's that tightness that arouses the ultimate abundance. And that concept, as the Baal Shem Tov explains it, is tefillah li'ani ki yatoif v'lifnei Havaya yishpech sichai. A poor man, when he wraps himself up to cover his entire being, because when a poor man comes, he wants to be wrapped up so that his face and his features cannot be seen. What's his desire? What's he asking for? Lifnei Havaya, all he wants is to pour his heart out before Hashem. That's the idea of what the Baal Shem Tov explains, and as the Maggid also explains regarding this, that the deepest pleasure is when a poor man gets his wish. A rich man, he got something. He got something else. He wants another $1 million. He got another $1 million. It's not something, it's defined in a specific concept, in a specific way. It's not an essential pleasure. Whereas the poor man who's pouring his very soul out And when he gets his wish, when he gets what he's asking for, it reaches the very essence of his pleasure. And it's something which, if we wish, we can look at the concept with regards to what Chassidus explains and what we've explained in the past many times. When there's light, the light hides. The light is something that obstructs the essence, because you only see the light. A rich man, he has things, he wants more. There's a defined meaning to what he wants. It's defined in a certain way, and therefore it's not the essence of his pleasure. The poor man who has nothing, he's wrapped up so that his features aren't even recognizable. And he pours his soul out. It's the very essence. It's not defined in anything. It's the essence of pleasure. And in the same manner, that's what the whole concept of shofar is, as we've explained. That shofar is something that's not intellectual, not emotional. It's raw essence, which expresses itself in raw emotion, but even that is an expression of the shofar. The shofar itself is nothing. It's just the cry from the very depths. That's why shofar is there, that the essence can be revealed. It's similar to the general idea that we all know with regards to Maidani. Maidani, when you wake up in the morning, you say Maidani, you thank Hashem for returning our neshama. We don't say Hashem's name. The simple reason, according to the halacha, of why we don't say Hashem's name is because our hands are impure. We can't say Hashem's name at that level of impurity. We're not allowed to say any name of Hashem. The deeper reason, according to Chassidus, is when everything else is hidden, when I'm already davening, when I'm already saying Hahu Hashem Kiru V'Shmai, I'm already expressing something that's connected to the name of Hashem, where there's an expression, it's defined by something, then I'm only getting that level, I can't get to the essence. Whereas when I get up in the morning and I say Maidani, I don't have the intellectual or emotional connection to Hashem, because everything is covered by the Ruach HaTumah, by the spirit of uncleanliness. The only thing that remains is that part which can't be covered by the spirit of uncleanliness, and that's the essence. The essence of the Jew reaches the essence of Hashem, which is above names. The Rebbe explains this idea when a child is born. It doesn't have a name yet. The name comes later. Now the name describes his essence of who he really is. But that's only to describe it to someone else. It's still limited. It's still defined to something. Whereas the very essence, when he's born, he doesn't need a name. It's the child himself. And this is the same idea of actually why today, which is the day after Yom Kippur, was called by the Baal Shem Tov Gotznamen, the name of God. The name of God, meaning this is what this name is. This day is the essence of Hashem. On Yom Kippur, we reach the essence, but it's an essence that's reached through revealing our neshama, the most spiritual heights of our neshama, until at Ne'ilah, at the highest point of Yom Kippur, the Yechida, the very essence of the neshama is revealed. But the next level is even deeper. The next level is when it's not a spiritual feeling. It's not an emotion. It's not an understanding. It's what comes after we reveal that essential connection between the Jew and Hashem. Then it's just the name of Hashem. It's above any type of expressions or explanations. It's like a child when he knows Hashem in Likutei Torah. It says that what does it mean? The essence of Hashem is revealed. Even children know that Hashem exists. There's that famous story they tell about a child who's drawing a picture, and the teacher asks, "What are you drawing a picture of?" The child says, "I'm drawing a picture of the Almighty." Teacher says, "But no one knows how he looks." The child says, "Well, now they will." And the truth is, if an older person would draw a picture of Hashem, that would be heresy. That would be the worst type of, what are you trying to define Hashem as a picture? The child's picture is actually not defining. It's the deepest reality of the essence of Hashem. It's something which comes from a realization which is above understanding. Then we bring it into understanding. That's why also after Yom Kippur we have to bring it into the 4 days, which are the 4 letters of Hashem's name. The first one being that little Yud, because that's the deepest thing that's expressed from the essence. And then the other letters, and then we can actually celebrate Sukkot. But that essence is what's revealed. Where does it become revealed from? When a person totally breaks themselves and doesn't feel min ha-meitzar, he doesn't feel anything. That's when it becomes revealed. So there is something that's revealing it. That something is the fact that we don't feel. Yitoka, we realize it's something that happens, so to speak, on its own. We realize that it's not defined and it's not limited to our actions. And that's why we say that the oivdim and the nidachim, those who are lost, those who are totally far away and distant, they're the most distant possible from godliness. That very fact that they feel nothing, that's what arouses the shofar gadol, that brings about that shofar gadol, that great shofar. And that's what the shofar of Rosh Hashanah is. Rasha mitchilasa, it's a year which is poor in the beginning. That brings the greatest riches and abundance. And that's the same shofar of the time of Mashiach. It comes as a result of the hardship. It comes as a result of the distance and of the total poverty of the Oivdim and the Nidachim in Eretz Asher and Eretz Mitzrayim. That brings about the Shofar Gadol. So it does come through the actions of the person. And then the Rebbe continues to explain another idea. And it's not really another idea, but it's explaining it even more. And it's in connection also. Now we come after Yom Kippur. The greatest level of the revelation of the essence of Hashem, which expresses itself the day after Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is the 10th day of Tishrei. That's Yud. 10 is the completion of number. The day after Yom Kippur is the 11th day. It's a day which is above that Yud. It's like the Onoichi. The essence of Hashem, which Onoichi is above the 10 Aseres Adibris. The word Onoichi is Hashem's essence, which then reveals itself because it's not there just to be above. Why is there the essence revealed in order to come down into the 4 days between Yom Kippur and Sukkot, which results in the great joy of Sukkot? That same idea is also with the Shofar Gadol. Through the fact that the big Shofar is sounded, and that Shofar actually arouses the Oivdim and Nidachim, but it's actually as a result of their being lost. That's what arouses the big shofar. The fact that there's the nothingness. That's what pulls. It's like a vacuum pulls. The fact that there's emptiness. That's what pulls something which is beyond. Because they're in a level of beyond. They're not limited by any specific things. That also brings the completion into the land of Asher and the land of Mitzrayim, which are the ultimate places of Galus, that they brought about this Oivdim, the fact that the Jews are lost and exiled over there and totally distanced from godliness. Because their ultimate purpose is that they should bring, as a result of their taking Jews away from Hashem, as a result of their putting Jews into Galus, that's what brings the Shofar Gadol. So when the Shofar Gadol is sounded, it actually brings them the lands of Asher and Mitzrayim, the ultimate lowest places of the world. It brings them to their completion as well. And in order to explain this, the Rebbe brings what the Rebbe Rashab says about Rosh Hashanah. Zeh hayom tchilas masecha, zikaron liyom rishon. In Rosh Hashanah there's 2 concepts. There's the tchilas masecha, the beginning of Hashem's purpose of creation, which is when man is created. Zikaron liyom rishon is the actual beginning of creation when the physical world, when the material world was created on the first day on Chafei Elul, on the 25th of Elul. And the Rebbe Rashab explains that the completion, the fulfillment of the world that was created on Chafei Elul is the fact that it brings about to Aleph Tishrei, when man is created and man does what he's supposed to do, that brings the fulfillment to the ultimate purpose of the creation of the world. That brings the world to its completion as well. And in a similar way also here, when a Jew, as a result of being in Galus, feels the constraints of Galus, and that itself brings the Shofar Gadol as a result of it, that brings the completion and the ultimate purpose to the creation of the lands of Asher and Mitzrayim themselves, that makes the place for Hashem in the physical world. Because the ultimate is that everything has to be bringing to the revelation of godliness. So these places themselves now lent and brought to the revelation of godliness, and as a result they come to their completion of what they're all about. This means that the lack, the ultimate bittul that a Jew reached, because of the hardship, because of the constraints, because of the galus that brought him to be as distant, as far away from Yiddishkeit as possible. This itself brings about the Shofar Gadol, which arouses a Jew to come connect to Hashem, and also brings the completion in the world itself, and in the galus, and in the places where the galus is. And now that we understand this idea, now we can also understand what the Rebbe Marash says. That Yisrael oisin atzum on Rosh, and the Jewish people make themselves poor on Rosh Hashanah. Make themselves poor means that there's two types of avodah. There's the people who unfortunately are as far away from godliness as possible. That itself arouses the Shofar Gadol. But then there's also people who are doing their avodah properly, or according to the level, they're doing it the way they should. But they bring themselves to a bittul. They bring themselves to go out of their existence by realizing that no matter what I do, compared to the reality of the greatness of Hashem, what's it all worth? So they bring themselves to the bittul of realizing it's not me, it's not my actions, it's not my defined spiritual greatness, because that's zero and nothing compared to the essence of Hashem. That's what brings about the Shofar Gadol. And Mitzvah Hashem, tomorrow we'll continue more with this.